Welcome back. Mike Jones, I'm here with Dr. Brooke Keels. So it occurred to me that you've been on a lot of podcasts. You and I've done this a lot, and nobody knows who you are. Like I haven't you've never been formally introduced
Yeah.
to the audience. I think it'd probably be good to go ahead and give some background. Let me say it this way. I've known you for a long time. You're one of the smartest people I've ever met. You could have done any number of things, right? You could do anything, right? And yet this is where you've chosen to be.
Yeah.
It's a path that you chose to go down, working in substance use, mental health, all the other things you've done in your career as well. This is where you've ended up. And it'd be good for people to understand not only how you came to this and why you chose this path for yourself, what that path looked like, and when you're giving advice in this, why it matters.
Right.
It could be good for them to know why they should listen to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, they would start back in the beginning. Why this field to begin with? Why be a PhD? Why get your PhD? Why focus in family therapy initially?
Yeah, I mean, of course, because you've known me this long, you know that I could take 12 hours telling because I like telling stories and weird things happen to me.
Yeah.
I will not do that.
Okay, we got 30 minutes.
That's what you told me.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we could break this into multiple sections to be about it.
Everyone would be like, no one's watching that third video. Probably not the second one either. I honestly, grew up, my dad is a psychologist. My mom's a social worker. I'm also a fifth generation preacher's kid. We helped people. People lived in my house all the time. When they built their new house, it was to be big enough so that if people needed to stay there, they could. This was just kind of a part of our lives. And I don't think I realized the impact of that until later. But my dad was adamant that I go to medical school and he said, if you want to help people, you can be a psychiatrist or a radiologist. Those are your two options. And I was like, okay. So I went in undergrad and began I was pre-med, working in a psych unit in Shreveport. So if people are wondering, I'm from Louisiana. That is the accent. It is not a Texas accent. And
we just claim her.
I'm so glad. And I'm glad I got here as fast as I could, as they say. But
What's the thing? Not Texas by birth, Texan by choice.
Yes. And I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm also all in with Louisiana, but I don't, I can't live there again. So I was working in a psych unit. And I was, a tech, and I did the 3 to 11 shift, and it was which is just my hours anyway. I'm like, if I could work 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., I could get so many things done. But it was really severe, a lot of schizophrenia, and I just began to notice, this was over the summer, I began to notice that the people that were getting better quicker were the ones where their families were involved. They had people come visit, check on them. They would ask the doctors, what do we need to do? There was just it was clearly a system, right, that was trying to help heal itself. And then the ones that didn't progressively got worse. And in some ways it was heartbreaking. And I used to be very fascinated with the severe. I think just because I do believe I can put the time and energy into anything, and we'll figure it out,
Yeah.
And so that really, I shifted, and I was like, I don't want to do, because psychiatry, you don't work with the family.
Yeah.
And so that was a point for me. I remember one of the hardest days of my life was telling my dad that I was going to switch my major to psychology, and you would have thought that I told him I murdered 7 really nice people, and
you're running off with carnival worker.
Right.
Yeah.
No, he would not. Yeah. If I went to be with the circus, he would not be okay with that. So, so it was, but switched, long story short, ended up thinking, okay, well, I'll do psychology, do my PhD in that. Had in my master's program a professor that was, modern systems theory trained, studied with him, convinced him to teach another class. He became my mentor. And I was like, family therapy is where it's at. That is for me. That's what I need to do. And so thankfully I have a very supportive husband and child at the time. Found out I was pregnant the month before I started my PhD program. And so, yeah, and through that, the substance piece came in, and that personally in my life, I was watching just the devastation of it. Not, my husband lost his father to opiate addiction, and it was, a hell of a ride. It was pretty horrific. Lost his best friend, who was also had become one of my closest friends. Like, we used to all be, he was our roommate for a very long time. Someone very, very special in my life, just was devastating his life and his children's life. Like, I just watched it just hurt and harm so many people. And the talk around it was that there's just kind of like nothing you can do.
Yeah.
It's just, if they would just try harder.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I'm like, I watched these men try really hard, and then they died. And sometimes not try at all, right? I mean, we see the
Yes.
But I began to understand it was like, it was like two different people, right? The man who loved his son, my husband, and the man who was,
it really
driving
is Jekyll and Hyde
across 3 states to get opiates, right? Like, it was. And so through that, and I was asked to come. I had specialized in curriculum development and accreditation at the university, and this, the administrator for a new adolescent male treatment center called me and was like, "I want to interview you." I think I don't know why he gave me the job. I think he just liked me. I don't know. And thankfully he did, and he took such a huge risk in some ways. Like, on paper, everything was good, but I hadn't really, I'd ran groups for the felons houses, which was which was great. It was so fun. I remember they're like, "This is your group," when I hadn't graduated yet for my master's, and everybody's like, somebody says they're a felon. I'm like a felon? And they're like, "Yeah, like that's why
we're here."
That's what I was like. All right, but yeah, and I don't know, just even seeing, it's like, and you just see treatment and mental health done so poorly, and it is hard to do it well. It is really hard, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of money. But when you see people's lives change, when you see families healed, and so I think that's when you and I met, and like with the kids, I'm like, I can't have these kids here and tell them this is their fault. Like, nobody's 13 smoking crack because that's just the choice they made, and so we required the families, like, the only way your son gets discharged is if you are not participating in family therapy. And even that dynamic, like that requirement, told those boys, this is not all on you.
Yeah.
And we had trust, and we built it was incredible, and I had an incredible team of people that worked with me too, that poured everything into it as well. And so it just kind of slowly came from there, and then I moved on.
Well, I remember when we met. I mean, it was one of the things that impressed me most. Like, we hit it off instantly. Like, this is my person, it's one of my people, but it was, you knew every client on campus, you knew every family of every client, you knew what was going on with every client, where they were, and that rule that if parents aren't involved, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't know anybody at that time that was willing to stick to their guns and their ethics so much that they would turn away an admission into their treatment center because they didn't feel like they could provide the best care if the parents weren't involved.
Right.
You're the first person I'd ever talked to that was willing to hold that line. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Like, we're going to provide the best care we can. And that's what matters most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it really, and as you grow personally through these journeys too, because you can become like, throw everything into it, but learning the balance with your own family. So there was definitely, it was a very hard season, but I literally cannot live with myself if I'm not doing right by other people in that way.
Yeah.
Of all the character defects I have, that one is just not it. And it works, right? So nobody could come and be like, this is a bad idea. I'm like, do you see what's happening? You know, like you would see, and these families were just amazing as well. And, yeah, I don't know. I can't believe they let me do that.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, none of this, I wouldn't be here at all if it had also not been people that like believed in my vision and sometimes maybe, you know, headstrong. I may have bullied some people into some things like that could have happened. Yeah. But I'm super, it's funny because now, you know, you look back and now that I understand how like business works, I'm like, I can't believe they let me do that. But it was really good. And a lot of those boys are doing well. And I guess they're grown men now.
Yeah.
Like they're actually, like have families, and which is kind of bizarre. But
we're getting old.
We are.
Yeah. It's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But, so that was, and then, you know, out of that we moved to Nashville, you know, and was working for an international nonprofit that was doing intensive trauma work with young women out of trafficking and just like horrific situations. And I know, you know, you and I have talked about them before, and you're just like, what?
Yeah.
You know, how is that real? And I mean, the world is a very dark place, but being able to support teams of therapists and counselors and residential staff and all of that, like sitting with these young women every day was unreal. And I'm so grateful because it all played into how healing and freedom happens, you know, and then being able to be here. And that, I mean, you know, we say that all of the time, like everybody needs what we're doing. It's just the substances make it more urgent, you know? So the same way we're healing with severe trauma, the same thing with, you know, on all these spectrums, it's just the, you know, level of how that happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I go back to the whole thing. Like I believe that people are treating the same issues, right, with just different methods.
Yes.
You know, whether it's hoarding or gambling or shopping or eating or, you know, go on and on. It's just that there's those of us that are treating it with substances, and that kills us. Yep. You know, not that the eating doesn't, just will.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's what they tell me, but
here
I am. No, I don't know. I'm just kidding. What did you say the other day? Jack LaLanne, the healthiest guy?
Oh, yeah. He was a picture of health.
Had a heart attack, and I was like, so buy the oatmeal cream pies.
Yeah.
You know?
Enjoy
it's
it.
Great.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I mean, that is a difference there. And so it does make it a little bit more urgent for those of us with substance use disorder, because it is a death sentence. Eventually, I hate to even say it like this, and I don't want it to sound callous in any way. And you and I've lost so many people that we care about over the years. Like I can't even count anymore. The ones, if it's gonna take you, the ones that go fast are the lucky ones. You know.
Yep.
Because the slow ones are really horrible.
They destroy a lot of lives in the process.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that is the reality. It is the substances make it urgent, you know. But we all need to heal.
Yes.
You know, all of us.
Yeah.
We're all being driven by stuff. Generally, a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got to dig in and heal around it. And you and I have always seen eye to eye on that, how we approach it. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to.
No. I agree. I mean, and I think that's why we also, you know, I moved my family from Nashville to here. I mean, you and I, you know, stayed in touch, thankfully. And I think even I remember because when I texted you, this was 2021, and I was like, hey, it's Brooke. Not sure if you remember me. And you were like, why are you so weird? Like, like, of course I do. You know, it'd been like, I don't know, 6 months or a year or something like that. But like when you and I connected, and I mean, I had always wanted to work with you, like since, you know, the day we met. And so to be able, for you to still want to work with me, to stay in touch over, the 5 years, because you started Lighthouse in 2016, right? When I was moving to Nashville.
Yeah.
And a big part of that too was, because what I was doing in Nashville, what was more just intensive, like trauma, and there were substances, sure, but that wasn't it wasn't substance use treatment, right?
Yeah.
So, which is something I knew how to do, but it was like coming here was how do you now have a team that understands what you just said, right? That understands like healing is for everyone, and it can look, but we're all just trying to meet a need, right? Everyone has a healthy need that they're meeting unhealthily, but we have watched so many people die, so many, and and we've seen the consequences that affect their kids and their spouses and their families, and like we've seen all of that, but we've also seen so many people come out of it and heal. But to do that well, you have to have a team that is there, that holds you accountable. Like, this is me on my own could get so sick in this.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I was at a dinner with a couple of psychiatrists that are in private practice the other night, and I was just like, I don't know how you guys do that.
Right.
Where you're just alone in it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I would have burned out years ago. It is the team that keeps me sane, that keeps me up. It's like being able to walk into a room and sit down with you and with Frankie and with Grant and with John and with Creed and Eric and Steve and Michael and have all these people that I can talk to that like that. I don't know how people do it alone.
Yeah.
I don't get it, because at any moment, any one of us on that team is being propped up by the other members of the team.
Right.
Because we all go through it. I mean, burnout in this field is real. It is hard. It's challenging. And what I found too is over the years and seeing different mentors and this happen, like there's one of two ways that, well, really, most people, I think, go one way with it, unfortunately. And that's that in order to protect themselves from all of the pain that they've been going through and all of the trauma they've been going through working in this field, is they become very callous to it. And they shut off and they become cold, and they just, not that they don't care about it.
Yeah.
They just care a little bit less, And that's... It's not that they're bad people. It's because this is a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to two mentors. My first sponsee died, right? And I remember going to them and I'm devastated, right? And I'm also like 3 months sober, man. And like, I think I've done something wrong,
right?
And that's why he died. And I remember going to them and I told them about it, and they were just kind of like, "Oh, sorry to hear it." Like slap on the arm. And these two guys that worked in the field that I looked up to, that, and that was their response. And it didn't make me feel any better. And then, my sponsor helped with, hey, you don't get them sober. Did you get yourself sober? Like, no. It's like, then what gives you that power, right?
Yeah.
But it made me realize I don't want to be that way. Like, if I'm going to work in this, I don't feel like I can be effective. And this is for me personally. Like, I don't feel like I can be effective in this field working with people if I can't connect with those people. And the only way I can connect with those people is by being real and vulnerable with those people. Why would they be vulnerable and honest with me if I'm not that way with them?
Yeah.
And so with that, I take some hits. I take some hits. Sometimes it hurts. I have scars to prove it, but there's no way I could do that if I didn't have you to work with,
right?
If I didn't have Frankie to work with, then there's no way Frankie could do it.
Yeah.
There's no way you could do it without the team around it. 'Cause it does take that, in my opinion. And for those people that can do it, I'm probably like, great, good for you. I'm not one of those people.
Yeah. No, and I've said this to you before. Like, I am passionate about this work, but I do it because of this team. Yeah. Like, I would not go do this, you know what I mean, elsewhere. Like
Yeah.
if someone called and was like, oh, you love addiction treatment, no, I love helping people heal and like bringing my experiences and expertise into that. But the reason I do this is because of this team, because it literally cannot happen without the team. Like it can't. It just would not be what it would need to be. We would constantly just be like, if only we had this or if only we had that. And then, and you would carry it. You would carry the losses and you would, and we also are always looking at ourselves. Did we do everything we were supposed to do? Did we do everything exactly right? If we weren't perfect, I mean, and I don't think we hold ourselves to some unhealthy standard of that, but it's like, if it wasn't perfect, why wasn't it?
And how do we get better?
And then, and being confident in that, like not being insecure, nobody's judged for it. It's just, I mean, and how many times do we sit down and someone goes, I maybe I should have done this, or I was thinking this, but I didn't say anything, kind of thing. And of course we're not talking about in life and death situations. I'm just talking about how we deal with insurance company, even just like on a basic level, everyone's so safe to just own their stuff and say, and ask for help. And I would not, well, and then now too, I'm like, now that I'm literally on this dream team, like I'm not, where is there to go? Right.
Yeah.
So, so this is where we're at forever or until the end. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, just so grateful to be here doing it.
I love, one of the coolest things for me with like your professional history, right? And it's how each step like along the way has brought all of these experiences that are so relevant to what we're trying to do, what we are doing day in and day out. Yeah. And, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's, we get to work with people or certain people we get to work with and they make everybody better. When you join the team here, it made everybody better. We've all gotten better all the way across the board. It's made me better. I've learned a lot in the process. I think that's one of the other great things of working together is that we get to build off of each other and we all get better in this. But, your experience working in that, complex, severe trauma situation, your experience working with adolescents and their families in that, your experiences in working in the psych wards and the felon house and all of your education that went into it. I mean, it's all of this is brought into this environment. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know. It was even as you were talking, like I forgot about how many jobs I've had since 2008. You know what I mean? That all come into. Even like doing in-home family therapy with families who did not want you to be in their house and learning how to connect with people because you got to let me in your house and I have to figure a way in. And how do you, and you learn you better be authentic. Yeah. Because that community is not interested in having you there. Yeah. And just the different things that have kind of kicked my butt appropriately along the way. And my husband jokes with me all the time because, people are like, oh, what did you, is this what you always wanted to do? And I'm like, no, and Scott goes, no, Brooke just says yes. If people are like, do you want to do that? Sure. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Yeah. And, and it's kind of, it has all come to this moment. And I'm just so, so grateful for what you said. And I'm the same way. Like, I know I can come to work and I don't have to be perfect, but I will be held accountable when I'm not. But then you just want to try so hard for everybody else who's trying so hard. And we just are constantly making each other better. And I'm just so grateful for that. And, never knew I'd be here, at the end of it. Yeah. But it's a good one at the end. I guess the beginning of this. But I say the end because I'm,
the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end. Yeah. But, I'm super grateful. And then you let me come here and go, I think we should do stuff this way. And you go, okay. Yeah. And then it works usually, so every once in a while I'm wrong. But,
like I say to families, I'm not the doctor. Oh, yeah. I'm not the doctor. Yeah. Yeah. I don't make that decision.
That's when they get to me. They're like, are you the doctor? Are you the one? I'm like, it's me. It's me. Let's talk about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Brooke. Thanks for your time again today. And I'm sure you'll be on many more episodes in
Yeah.
the future.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks everybody.